Well, geez. That's not something that should be in the news.
There's some that are trying.
Big tall guy here, he doesn't even know what's there.
I do, you don't have one.
That's
I'll
what
put a bunch of that with your place.
she tries to be.
Yeah,
as
he's
much as
called
possible.
Fired.
six,
Like,
six,
really
eight,
on one
six,
side,
six,
she's
nine,
like,
he just.
some of the shit she asks.
Right up to the weight, he doesn't
We
even.
get a lot of questions.
One
And then she always
Short
brings
people.
It's one of those, the
That's
rest
the
of the
problem, it's like the
Yeah.
more reporter is, the
Fresno.
less fun they are to be around.
Right on time.
He did
I
offer
just,
to.
Kara TV just left my office and I'd be able to go more with
Yeah,
them.
that's right, you stick around for a while.
Giving them the facts.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started here. Today is April 30th, 2024. Welcome to Great Falls International Airport Authority Board Meeting. The mission of Great Falls International Airport Authority is to optimize transportation services and development in our region. The vision of Great Falls International Airport Authority is to maximize the airport's benefit to the region. Welcome to the public. Thank you for being here. As always, we would love to hear what you have to say. Just please stand, identify yourself, and your comments will be heard. Go ahead and take a roll call real quick. Commissioner Eretz. Here. Commissioner Gibbs. Here. Commissioner Hogan.
Yes.
Commissioner Houston is absent. Commissioner Lalonde is here. Commissioner Swathwood.
Present.
Commissioner Thompson.
Here.
All right, with the quorum of the board present, I call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, starting with the consent agenda. Consent agenda is made up of routine day-to-day items that require board action but do not appear to have significant public impact. Items may be pulled from the consent agenda for separate discussion or vote by any board member. This month we have item A, approval of board meeting minutes for March 2024. Item B, payroll checks totaling $177,505.86 for March 2024. Item C, maintenance and operations checks number 28143 to 28243, totaling $616,007.21 for March 2024. Item D, approved passenger facility charge totaling $66,049.96 for March 2024. And item E, financial reports for March 2024. Does any board member have an item they would like to pull for further discussion or comment? All right, can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Motion.
Got a motion? Any further comments? Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Got a second. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
And nay. The ayes have it. Director's report.
Yes, happy April, everybody. Just drawing your attention to the financials briefly. On page one, you can kind of see we remain about 9–10% over operating budget plan, so that's good. We're continuing to see strength in parking and concessions, rental cars, those types of things are our main overages, which is really solid. We're also seeing a little bit more badging revenue than we had first anticipated because we've increased badge fees. Now that we have the smart badges, we didn't really know when we were putting this together what the cost of those smart badges would be and what the cost to issue those smart badges would be. As we've kind of analyzed that, Shailene and Kent did a good job of kind of looking through what our costs are in badging everyone, and so we increased them a little more than we expected, and so that we've got a little more badge fee revenue coming in. But that's mostly offset with costs, so nothing to be excited about there, just a lot higher number. But on the expense side, repairs and maintenance, it's been a very difficult year repair-wise. We've had quite a bit of damage, some on the capital side with the freeze of the pipe out there in gate 2, but then also on some of our equipment too, just seems to be a bad year for repairs. So our operating budget, we're right up against the 100% mark as we get through April. I still suspect we've got a couple big expenses coming up. I still suspect we may need a budget variance. It's gonna be very close, so as we get into May and we start to see the May financials, we may put on the board agenda a budget variance, slight budget variance for this fiscal year to get us through the end of the year. We've got a couple big expenses coming up, I know, with consulting. Our Jumpstart conference is in May this year, so it's very costly to acquire the data that goes into those data presentations. Generally, I think the total bill between travel, our consultant's time, because he comes to the conference with us, and then the data set ends up being, what would you say, Shailene, is it 25,000, 30,000?
Yeah, about 30.
Yeah, about 25 to 30. So it's an expensive endeavor, but it's worth it to have time with our airlines. So as I said, in May, I suspect we might end up coming to the board with a little bit of a budget variance, but I don't think it'll be much. So boardings wise, we're 19% year to date over last year, primarily because we didn't have Minneapolis in the first couple of months of the previous year. But we do have some growth. Head-to-head March was one of our better Marches. We have to go back to the roaring Canadian dollar days of 2012 to 2016 to find a time when we had stronger Marches. With about 15,000 passengers, we're about 1,000 passengers lower than we were during those times. So a sizable decrease over record levels, but nonetheless, through the first quarter, we're in probably one of the better 3 or 4 years we've ever had, first quarter wise, so in terms of passenger traffic. So that's positive. Next month, about a month from now, I'll be out visiting the airlines at Jumpstart. That's the big annual conference where all the airlines come and get a chance to set with their route planners and discuss our routes or potential new routes. So I think we have meetings right now with 9 airlines, all the current airlines plus some new ones. Our top priorities for that meeting will be LA or Dallas service using our SCASD grant. This is the last year of our normal SCASD grant. We have basically through this year to get a air service agreement in place. Otherwise, we have to ask for an extension. Typically, they will grant 1 or 2 extensions, maybe even 3. I think Helena might actually be asking for the 3rd right now. So, but we'd like to get something nailed down this year, and I think there's some really good prospects. You may have seen we're planning to form a partnership with Billings. We think there's an opportunity that with one particular airline that would benefit from 2 gateways into national parks in Montana. And so they have some incentives pointed towards LA. We have some incentives pointed towards LA. And that would be better utilization of an airplane because probably it wouldn't be daily service. Or even if it were daily service, there might be an opportunity to have a turnaround and come back. So alternating morning and afternoon. We have a conference call with Billings next week to discuss that, and we plan to make those presentations at Jumpstart as part of our normal presentation. So that's encouraging. I think we're going to do a pretty. I think we're going to have a pretty good shot at LA for next summer. So I'm pretty excited about that. We're very close to leasing the whole condo building. We have a tenant that has expressed desire to have the entire building. They want to start with a 3-year lease with a number of extensions, so it'd be 3 to 12 most likely. We're working with them on getting their tenant finishes kind of figured out. They have a fairly extensive list of things they want to do. They need a locker room and a couple of bathrooms and things like that. A small office space, very small office space. And that kind of thing. They're a new business to Great Falls, so they'd be coming here to town. This would be their first choice of locations. The visibility on the highway, which we've long said is one of our best selling points, is a big deal to them. So we're pretty excited about that. We're working with Dick Anderson closely right now to get those tenant build-outs priced so we can make them an offer. I suspect we'll do something along the lines of a certain amount of them, they want some walls moved, that kind of thing, which we always knew was going to be a possibility when we put in the internal walls. So we'll probably do some of that gratis as part of the normal tenant improvements to get them in. Some of their other things like bathroom, locker room, reception area, we've kind of talked over with Dick Anderson. What we'll do is amortize that over, say, 15 years at a 5% interest or something like that, 4 or 5% interest. And then if they stay that long, say to year 10, we'll probably write off the rest of it. If they leave after year 3, they gotta pay the balloon payment on everything else. That's a structure I've used elsewhere to encourage tenant improvements and a longer stay. So I think we'll probably do something like that. And then they have some specific things they want in terms of laydown area and other stuff in addition to the building, which they'll have to pay that outright because it's not really useful to another tenant. In fact, we'll probably mow it down one day when we expand that building. So that's kind of the structure we're anticipating, working with them on. We're just waiting on that pricing for the improvements to kind of pull that deal together. I'm hopeful that we'll have something in place before I leave town here in another week. So we've got a little vacation coming up. So we're getting there. It's exciting. Soon after this, we'll be talking to Dick Anderson about the next building. Our primary candidate that we kind of started talking to a few years ago is still out there. This kind of clears the decks a little bit to make a play on them, I think, because now some of the building limitations that we have in the first building for their use, we could fix with some small design changes in the new building. So I think that's kind of exciting, and it gives us an opportunity to potentially fill most of a second building already. So that's really exciting. So good stuff going on there. Capital-wise, we've wrapped up the signage program. The contractor came back up last week, and we had a few things that just need to be cleaned up from the install, so we're done with that. The canopy project is chugging along. You probably heard the construction activity right now out there. They're cutting in the floor seams. We'll have that recessed carpet, which we've done with the entrances over the last 5 years or so. That's better than the brass joint that we had before, which as bags and feet roll over it snaps, sticks up, presents a tripping hazard. As we get that seam cut in, they're laying in the new carpet, so you can go down there now in front of the rental cars, and most of the new carpet's already laid, and you can see that new seam, how we've designed it. We've moved a lot of the terrazzo, or we've moved a lot of the carpet back to expose the original terrazzo. So the first, our main baggage claim, that is all terrazzo now around there. The second baggage claim will be half and half. On the bag claim side, it'll be terrazzo. The second half, where the rental cars are, we left carpet to make those conversations a little easier, dampen some of that sound. So we'll continue to have some carpet in there. I was talking to the construction crew before the meeting, and they plan to put in a seam of new carpet against the old carpet, and they'll leave that until the supplies come in for that door that goes in down there. So we'll have kind of an odd joint for a while, old carpet versus new carpet, until they get ready to tear out that entire west side, and then we'll wall off the west side and get in there and pull that door out. Build the new vestibule, which actually comes into the building about 8 feet, in order to make a second door, just like the rest of our entrances. There'll be 2 doors. So they'll install all that, and the rest of the new carpet will go in, and they'll kind of be done with that element of the project. No word yet. I don't know if you've heard anything, Rod, on when they plan to start out here on the front.
I haven't heard yet, but I'd say it's coming pretty soon.
Yeah, they've been out poking around. I saw them on the roof last week looking at things, so I suspect any time now we'll start to see some crews showing up to begin that portion of the project, which we're pretty excited about. The terrazzo contractor right now is working to patch the old elevator pad. We were surprised to find an elevator pad underneath the carpet as we pulled it back. I guess there was a man lift kind of elevator somewhere from the baggage claim up to the second floor for a while, and they've built a concrete pad under there to support that. That's been demoed, and it just needs to be infilled now with terrazzo, which they'll be working on here hopefully this week. They're also working on the transitions in the men's and women's bathroom that are behind the escalators there. There's a men's and women's bathroom back there. The transitions on those didn't quite meet code, which we didn't realize until they kind of got in there and were looking around. So they're going to put a terrazzo kind of strip in there that'll level it out and make a smooth transition to those bathrooms in that area too. On the second floor remodel, kind of our first element of the project is underway. We contracted this one separately. It's the wall tile in the security checkpoint and along the airline gates. It's been about, it's 11 years now, I guess, since we built the new checkpoint and a lot of the new gate entrances, both on 2, 3, and 4, that gate entrance changed. And so there's a lot of wear and tear on the drywall in those areas where bags are hitting them. In the case of TSA, they're shoving equipment into the wall. Also, you can see where they lean against the wall with their radios. It's dug it down almost all the way through the drywall. So we've put some wall tile in those areas to harden those surfaces, to give them a little bit better life. Hopefully they won't hit that hard enough to crack the tile. We'll see, I guess. But I think it looks pretty good. The wall tile, I think in the checkpoint, looks like it'll be done this week. And then we'll move on to a couple of gate ramps that have drywall. Generally, each one of them has drywall on one wall, the other wall's windows and those concrete caissons like these. So we'll basically just be doing one wall in those areas. So that's the first element. The rest of the second floor, I don't think we'll have a grant until August. Is that kind of what it sounds like? We can reimburse ourselves for that, so we might get a couple months into this and decide, we want to go ahead with that project and use reserves to fund that, and then get reimbursed from the project. We'll kind of see as we get going. The snow blower is here, finally, after 2 years. One of the last Oshkoshes to ever come off the line is here at GTF, which is pretty exciting. They've sold their business to Indy Broom, which was their biggest competitor. Now their snow business is gone. They'll still make fire trucks, but no longer snow equipment. So we got one of the last units. Looks like a pretty nice unit.
Yeah, we have it outside here if anybody
Oh,
wants to look
yeah.
at it afterwards.
Yeah, if you want to go see a new snow blower. And so that's pretty exciting. Of course, it's not here in time for snow, but that's okay. And then lastly, we finished our, well, that's true. It sounds like we're meeting tonight and tomorrow. But we've completed our 139 inspection for the year. It's a little early this year. It came in mid-April. And they come out and inspect all the paints, signage. They go through our training records. They look at the wildlife plan. They looked at our low visibility lighting plan this time because the people that used to come around separately and inspect that aren't traveling anymore. So they did some of that work. They drove around the leasehold to see how all the fuel signs were on the trucks and the terminals and everything. And they found several discrepancies. There was one truck that was parked next to a piece of equipment which isn't allowed. The fire department needs access all the way around the trucks in case they were to catch fire. There was a couple other minor things that'll be easy for us to clean up, but really a very good inspection. So kudos to the maintenance crew for that. We're in good hands over there, and get stuff wrapped up, and another year through our Part 139 inspection, so that's really positive. Shailene's made some progress on finding a capital projects database. You may recall our capital projects for, since the dawn of PC, I think, have been kept in an Excel spreadsheet that's gotten unwieldy. Not a real good way to keep financial records like that, because of course you can modify any cell even by accident. And so for a while now, we've been wanting to transition into an actual database system. We talked to the auditor some last year. They didn't want to require any new licenses in order to get our data out of a capital projects database. They also, because it was the last year of their audit. In addition, the one that they actually had licenses to, they said they wouldn't recommend, it's no good. So we decided we'd wait and talk to the new auditor. It sounds like the new auditor is happy with the system that we've kind of identified, and it's like $550 to acquire and $100 a year for a license. Is that about right? $100, $200 a year for a license. So pretty affordable. Our plan is we'll likely try and hire a summer intern from one of the business departments inside the high school to input those records. Unfortunately, they're not in any kind of database format. They're kind of tab by cost center, and then even within there, each individual project has its own area. So it's not going to be an importable type of database. Somebody's actually going to have to go through one by one and enter those by form into the database, which is going to be pretty tedious. So we'll likely reach out to see if we can find a young business student that's good with Excel. We had very good experience with that. It's been probably, 5 years ago, Laura, since we had our last intern from CMR, a business student, and he was probably more adept at Excel and some of the newer features than I was. did a fantastic job of organizing, going out and interviewing 1,000 passengers and organizing 1,000 records, reporting on trends from that, and just a fantastic project. Matt Fangmeyer, I think was his name. And so he did a fantastic job for us. I'm confident that this will work as a means to get that data in there. Probably will be a few weeks of project, but we'll see if we can find somebody to get that data in there, because it's going to be time consuming. And it's one of those jobs you got to sit down and do, rather than answer the phone and then have a meeting and go back to. So, but that's progress on finally getting a capital project database and getting things moving there. And anything else on projects I missed, Rod? I think
You got them.
pretty much everything we got moving right now. We are still working out a few bugs with the first phase of the security, the access control. We're still not able to get the alarms to go to our cell phone. That's one of the kind of hanging items. We also figured out the bag claim doors downstairs are not alarmed. When they're left open, they don't alarm like every other door. So we met with FICO this week to kind of talk through those couple of things and figure out how we get those things completed. They've given us a scope of work for the second phase. The second phase includes moving this gate out here on the edge of the terminal. This is the only part of the fence that actually we have a gate in that goes to the terminal, which is our highest security area. And so we want to move the fence back so we can store a truck in there, and then add cameras on each side of the truck so we can do remote inspections. Today, given our officers are all over the place, they're going out and doing physical inspections when they can. We want to increase the number of inspections we're doing and decrease the number of times they get called out there. So a good number of those inspections will be converted to virtual inspections, where they'll open up the panels on the truck, they'll have them move things around so they can see what's in there. Hopefully, most of the time we'll know the driver, or at least the company they're coming from. A lot of it's beer delivery and Coke. And so we usually know those folks. So if we can get a look at what's in their truck and talk to them over the intercom, that will satisfy most of what we need to do. So we'll be able to do those remote inspections. It's also good for construction days when we have haul through there, like when we were doing the terminal ramp over here. You're going to see the same truck 8 times that day with the same driver because they went to get a load of concrete and they come back and they come and go back and forth, back and forth. If we can do that remotely, see the person, know who they are, and vet them that way, that will save us a lot of time. So we want to do that. We also have a couple doors, the loading bridge doors, which are out in the weather. They're right now a cipher lock, which does not function real well in the rain and snow. The grease that's in there that makes it work thickens in the cold, and so it'll either hold the last coat in there so the door might continue to open, or it just simply won't open. And so we want to replace that with an electronic magnet. The magnet has heat because it's powered, so we think that will be a more reliable structure, and the badge readers on the outside of the building are made for all conditions. So we think that will add to the operation back there for the airlines. We also have the doors at the bottom of the stairs that we currently don't allow access to. If somebody needs access to it, we go out and open it. When JetBridge 2 was down for those couple of days that they were doing ground loading there, the airlines needed access to that, so we would have to leave and go out there. We would like to give the airlines access to those doors, just right now we don't have any way to verify if the door's shut, that kind of thing. And so as we move our access control to the first floor, we'll have cameras, we'll have door alarms, we'll have door open sensors, the full package that we've put on the other doors. And so we've included those in that phase 2. The pricing's about $220,000. The board had approved $250,000, so we have enough budget to execute phase 2. We're just going to meet tomorrow with Steve and talk about the funding plan, and then hopefully here in a few weeks execute that second phase and get the additional work done there. And that's all I've got.
Did you make any headway with the fire suppression conduct? Is that going to hold up?
We think so. Yeah, we think so. The fire flows, so if you recall, that building is made to have 10 units in it. So the fire flow pipe is pretty big, so it holds a lot of water. So given that there's only 3 units currently with sprinklers in them, the calculations indicate that the system should flow without a pump. So we think we can actually flow the system, run the sprinklers without a fire pump in there. The electrical panel that's for the fire pump comes, it ships in June, like June 7th, but it's a pretty long shipping cycle too, from what I understand. Dick Anderson thinks they could get it in July. So ideally, if that fire flow does work, we'll be able to go to the fire marshal and say, okay, we can run these without the pump until the pump comes, and that would give us temporary occupancy. Right now, the long pole in the tent there is estimating these the tenant improvements. The architect that we've been using hasn't produced any numbers yet, so we're waiting on those numbers to kind of see how much it costs to do some of the improvements. So once we get that kind of built out, give it back to the tenant, we want to make sure they're happy with it. 17 is a high rent for Great Falls, as the broker indicated. But as I've said, the problem is there's no new product, and so we're competing with 50-year-old buildings that are obsolete, and the rest of the state isn't that far off of that. So it's a high rent, which that's why they want to see what the tenant improvements are, how we're going to fund those. I think we've come up with a solid plan. I think we can get everybody happy. They really like the location, so I think we can work it out. It's just we got to get those costs.
Any other questions? All right, then we'll move on to item number 1, Dick Anderson Construction Contracts.
You want to talk to that, Laura?
We included 3 documents in your packet, and this is years worth of work that we're finally ready to sign off on. So these 3 documents actually are specific to the warehouses that we've already built. The last document that you have is the agreement that we signed off on for the cost per the board's actions and approvals. So we have tied everything back to those costs that were already approved. So what we're really approving today is the form. The first one is the master services agreement. So we will sign one for the warehouse that we've already built, but then we will use this form going forward for more buildings, hopefully for more warehouses that we would move forward with them on. Each time we have a master services agreement, then we'll also have a work order with it that will tie back to the actual costs that we will be having for that particular building. So these are really just forms that we've worked through. Again, this third one, you guys have already approved this, and that's why we moved forward with it. But between the attorneys reviewing again and again, it just took a while to get here, and deciding which direction we were actually going to go in partnering on these buildings. So,
And maybe I'll just back up a second for Commissioner Smallwood's benefit, since he's fairly new. The way this deal was structured, we put out an RFP for a joint venture between us and a contractor to build condos going forward, and the idea is eventually we'll have maybe 3 buildings, 10 to 12 units. They'll own some, we'll own some, we'll hopefully sell some in addition. And so we've built this structure as a way we can partner together to build these units. Either of us can move forward with additional units if we like. Right now, we've coalesced the rental rates. We don't have to in the future. So they might be renting for less than us or more than us. But I think it's a kind of a unique and innovative structure that we've built in order to take advantage of the benefits of having someone like Dick Anderson on board to tell us, this is a dumb idea, it's costing too much, let's cut that down, or this would get it done quicker, or this is, what people want, this is what we see everyone building. At the same time, being able to create new revenue sources for us going forward, and taking some of this land that is heretofore been undevelopable because we had no utilities, and getting it towards development. And the city partnered with us to build $1 million in utility with TIF funds over there to make this project possible. So it's been a 3 or 4 year endeavor, but we're very close, at least in that first building, and beginning to talk about more units. So.
Thanks for the extra context.